They say that when you smile at someone, it can change a person's day. But what happens when you take that extra step, when you really put your heart into something and run with it? Today, all of my guests go above and beyond every day. And for them, it's just the normal thing to do. That's what sets them apart. First, we meet a crew that has the heart of a lion that sets out to create life-changing experiences in schools that infuse young people with identity and purpose. So I saw this Lionheart video, and it is absolutely incredible just watching like 2 minutes of it. It's more of a movement, not just an assembly. So how did it get started?
I've been teaching for 8 years in Detroit, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is creating with my students, not just wanting my students to create, but being alongside of them. You know, kind of getting into teaching. My view of my classroom was never that I wanted to have a life and then I wanted to be a teacher and then go back to my life, but that these would be kind of woven inside of each other. And so with the Lionheart experience, when we go into schools, we do assemblies that infuse kids with life, purpose, and identity. And it's a privilege because from my classroom, from the things we create in my classroom, I have an opportunity to be able to go out and reach the world with my students. And we get to go talk to kids about purpose. We get to go talk to kids and help them to feel alive and help them to know their worth. It's just really important.
Were you seeing something in the schools that really sort of inspired you to say, we have really got to do something about identity and purpose, because I'm seeing things happening in children's lives that I just feel like I need to do something about?
1 in 8 kids in our country that struggle with anxiety. We have 10,000 messages a day that kids are processing through social media, kids are processing through YouTube, kids are processing from their friends. We've got 40,000 people, young people, in 2018 who decided that their life wasn't worth living anymore. We're at a point in our country where we have more freedoms and more rights than we've ever had, and still a long way to go, but at the same time, with all that freedom, we're still the most medicated and the most depressed we are, you know, like as a society, and that affects young people too. So the Lionheart crew and I, we just see that there is a space to remind students and to remind teachers of their worth. And you know, we want people to feel alive.
So Tae, tell me, how does this feel when you go out and you do this? How do you do this? How do you infuse young people with these qualities?
Seeing the opportunity that Lionheart gets, like the guys that spend all this time together every day, like sleeping and going out to eat, and then building a culture where we can go and like spread identity with kids and like build them up. Kids that feel down, because there is a lot of kids that you would never know like what they were going through until like that spark hit. We went to a school in Pontiac actually, and after that a little girl came up to me and told me like in the morning her mom told her she was worthless. And that was something that like poked a hole straight into her identity. And like as Lionheart, I got the opportunity to patch that hole and tell her that she was here for a reason and she's doing great things, and just like stay focused on school and none of that matters. So those are like some of the opportunities that we are get to get.
That's a great example of you're showing up just at the right time for a whole, you know, group of students at that school, but particularly her. That's just such an incredible story. So when do you guys do all of this? When does this happen?
Yeah, so, you know, we mentioned that, so the Lionheart experience is a traveling group.
Yeah.
You know, we travel 2 or 3 days a month, and we get to schools in the Midwest. You know, we've seen almost over 50,000 kids so far. And just story after story of kids that get to interact with people like Tae, you know, where we get to get on their level, and we get to look into their eye and tell them how amazing they are. And so we travel 2 or 3 days a month, and so we get around to as many schools as we can, and we get to leave, but being able to have the Lionheart experience not just be what happens in school, but the Lionheart experience being like this as well, you know, like.
Yeah, I need to meet this whole crew right now. Let's bring this whole crew up. How about that?
Yeah, we'll do it.